My name is Nima Salmani. I come from a business background. I did my undergraduate in Canada at the University of British Columbia. And after my graduation, I worked a little bit in marketing and advertising and felt that I wanted to further my education and took a Master of Law and Business degree in Germany. I completed that 1 year after that and moved back to Canada to pursue a career in commodity trading. I'm currently a commodity trader there, and it's definitely different from the theoretical knowledge that I've gotten in both my degrees, but there's definitely a lot of things that I can draw from the experience. Michael Friedman was my professor for negotiation 1 and 2, and also taught a course in mechanics of presentation. He was definitely one of the professors that I remember most, and in a very positive way. I think that first of all, Michael Friedman has always presented himself and carried through with being a very approachable, very personable professor or teacher in that way. But other than that, the content of his courses also were very relatable to the experiences, not just of myself, but I felt from my fellow students. And what that did was to create more communication and more interaction between or among students that have come from a variety of backgrounds. So the cases that he's presented us with in his classes were relatable to different cultures, they were relatable to different fields, and definitely allowed the individual student to share their experience, but also to get an insight to the experiences of others. That sort of facilitation was why I personally would and did vote for him as a best teacher during my year. Michael Friedman used a lot of examples and a lot of cases in his class, and that would involve other students. I can think of one specific example just to illustrate how he would convey ideas about negotiation, for example, to the class. And the topic is about negotiating with a party that you have no relationship with prior to the deal. That actually happens in my personal career quite a lot, where I deal with people on the phone and I may have never met them, and it's about large volume and very expensive deals. And the question is, in such a negotiation, when there's no relationship, that also means that there's often no trust. So how do you establish trust as an underlying factor in a negotiation that is about to happen? Michael Friedman took that problem and demonstrated it by bringing to the class the problem, having the class discuss it, and showing quite vividly, and by quite vividly I mean not just in words or by lecture, but also in physical form, to pretty much throw away one hammer, let's say, that one party may hold against another. The idea is to show another party that there may be something that me, as one of the negotiation parties, can do to slander or to destroy the other party. However, I'm demonstrating throwing that away, that ace in the hole that I have, and thereby establishing a trust with the other party. That kind of skill, the skill is really in conveying the idea to the students, how that works. Michael Friedman did that by showing us a coin, saying that if this coin is what we may hold against another party, and he literally threw the coin out. It was a small example of how he approached a problem and showed students how to find a solution for it. And that's something that sticks with you, as you can tell after years, that's something that I still remember. Two skills that I've found is consistent with every good and great professor that I've had the pleasure to learn from are, one, using cases in a, let's say, maybe unorthodox or non-standard way. And another one is to draw from own experience of the professor. For the first one, what I can think of is, when I talk about cases, usually you get a problem, you assign groups, and you find a solution to the case. That is what I would define as most cases, most standard cases. Some of my professors have taken an approach to actually go through role-playing, have teams switch up maybe mid-case. That way, the professors have always ensured that we as students look at a problem from all angles. And I can tell now in hindsight being 2020, that you have definitely to do with a lot of people in your workforce that are not just from different cultural backgrounds, but definitely diverse in their own experiences, and that have certain goals in mind that you may not think of when you're not in their shoes. Getting the practice of thinking of those things and looking at a problem from a different angle, or from all angles if possible, is hard to come by, and I feel that these professors that I'm talking about were more than one. Michael Friedman is one of them, that they have actually managed to do that by mixing up the cases and pretty much having students look at problems from different points of views. Second skill is to be able to draw from own examples and make it relatable to students. That skill is by identifying, first of all, where the student is in terms of their career, or in terms of their career aspirations, and in terms of the understanding of the theoretical content that the professor wanted to convey. And at the same time, making it relatable to how that individual professor has experienced that in their own career. I have found that really puts more of a lively and more of a imaginable, accessible teaching lesson to the students in general. One example is where I took a course where it was leadership in practice, and it was taught by a retired army general, and that general would give us a lesson every lecture, and at the end of the lecture he would tell us a story about the 3rd platoon, I believe it was his first experience as a lieutenant and his first leadership experience in the military. And that example at the end of each lesson was related to that lesson, and on top of it, all stories contained a mistake that professor made in his first leadership role within the military, so that we actually, in a nutshell, took something really valuable and something real home that we would remember and that we could think of. I think there's definitely a lot of things that can be improved, but a general lack of skills, I think that would be a little too harsh of a judgment. I think, generally speaking, about studying in the 21st century and looking at the educational system and the different programs that are out there, what each student goes through is, with the accessibility of a lot of programs all over the world at a certain level, there's a lot of choices to be made, and there's a lot of supply of programs. So for the student to be able to identify which one is the right fit for them, I think that the programs need to cut out a more specialized profile for themselves. Otherwise, you will find students that are interested in let's say, heavy research postgraduate degrees or very career-oriented students in post-professional degrees, for example, in the wrong program. That is something that obviously is more on the admission side to figure out, but at the same time, the admission side is also in competition with a lot of other schools. So I think that identifying for a program what it is they want to achieve, what kind of students they want to attract is the very first step. And based on that, get the teachers, the professors, the lecturers that are a fit for that profile, so that actually you have consistency between the goal of the student, the goal of the program, and what each professor brings to the table at that point. I find that sometimes, unfortunately, a lot of graduate schools want to present themselves as a jack of all trades, and thereby they pretty much miss the point, so that students come out maybe demotivated. Being a lecturer or a professor is definitely something that I like. I think there's a romantic idea behind sharing knowledge, sharing experiences, and passing it on. But at the same time, there's also the aspect of feeling that there's some sort of unaccomplished things in my personal life, and I think passing on the torch would be the best way to describe it, and having the hope that there are students out there that would complete or further one's own knowledge, right? In my own lifetime, I've been very lucky, very fortunate to have great teachers all the way from school through university, people that weren't necessarily teachers or professors, but also people that have shared their knowledge and their experiences with me, and really shaped my way of thinking and who I am today. Being able to do that for another person and creating, I don't want to say a legacy, but creating some sort of impact on young people's mind. I hear from a lot of guys around me that have done the same to me, that is a very satisfying thing to do. I would love to experience that and actually seeing if that's true, and if I have the skills to pass some things on.